This is the S&P 500 Spider ETF SPY one-day reading for August 1st, 2024. It's currently June 26, 2024, 12:33 p.m. Eastern Time. SPY at the time of this reading is $545.22, that's USD. The shuffle video for the August 1st reading was created on June 19th, 2024, 12:54 p.m. Eastern Time. That's a video playing for you in the lower left corner. The overall behavior and theme for SPY on the 1st of August, the full card indicating an improbable opportunity. Usually there's a lot of price change when you see the full card and it's like a spike in either direction that doesn't last long. Sometimes it's a gap. My sense is that there's a pretty big move here. We'll talk about that in more detail as we progress in the reading. Behavior around the high side, we have a sideways S formation within a channel. So chances are we see the high twice. Actually, there we go. We have a high correlation and a high correlation because we go from resistance down to support, reverse, go all the way back to resistance, reverse, go all the way back to support, creating a sideways S within a channel. And then behavior around the low, we have a period of sideways rotation that ends with a fast sudden move higher. I'm advised to trade around usually the abundance card indicates some sort of new high, not necessarily like on a long-term scale, but maybe we just did lows and there's a new high after meeting lows, something like that. But what you'll see is this move higher through key resistance. What you'll see is this move higher through key resistance. We'll stay above it briefly, then we'll break back down through that price level shortly thereafter, and it creates like a capital A sort of in the English language. Now, I'm going to get into the hour-by-hour chart behavior as well as timing the highs to lows and the best trade opportunities. All of that in just a moment, but before I do that, I want to make sure that you're aware. The whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill, and we do that by following the rule of karma for the channel. That's a threefold agreement between the channel and anybody utilizing this information for personal gain. 5% of all profits should be donated forward to a charity, and you find them here on the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders. 5% of profits should be donated forward to one of these charities or a charity of your choosing, and 5% of the profit should be donated back to the channel through one of these links. If you're international, you can use this app Wise, which is reliable, or you can use crypto. When you click on the crypto tab, this is new. When you click on the crypto tab, you get all these QR codes, so you can donate in a bunch of different cryptos. Great way to help support the channel, my friends. It's the right thing to do if you utilize this information regularly, and it leaves you at 90%. Make sure to spend that 90% out of love. As long as you follow those rules, the universe considers you an angel investor of the channel. It's going to send it back to you tenfold for following through on that rule. Not to mention, you do that repeatedly, and you get a free invite to our Discord server, only for angel investors. All right. With that said, I just want to remind everybody, if you're new to the channel or to SO Meta-Analysis, it's important to understand the way that these readings work. So these cards going left to right across the screen, these are timeline cards. They each represent, most of them represent about 1 hour of time. But it's important to understand that not each card's energy will line up perfectly with 1 hour of time. So there may be cases in some of the one-day readings, not all of them, but some of them, there may be cases where you have to give it plus or minus an hour or two of wiggle room, but the sequence of events will always remain accurate. Unless it's a bad reading, then the sequence of events is off, but that hardly ever happens. Yeah, and so if you follow the sequence of chart events as outlined by the prediction, that'll keep you on track even when we're plus or minus a little bit on the highs and the lows. All right, with that said, let's get into it. In the pre-market, we likely open lower, and then there's this decline in the pre-market with an unexpected move out of that decline. Actually, looks like right around in the pre-market or around the open is an opportunity, is a full card opportunity. It looks like that big move to the upside into the open. So we decline, unexpected move higher into the open, creating like a brief peak around the open that's easily missed, followed by a decline through multiple support levels due to this fortune card reversal. This move to the upside in the pre-market will likely come out of some sort of really very negative looking chart behavior, and we'll expect it to go lower, but it'll go higher. So there's that reversal in the first half hour. We have multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance between roughly 10 and 11, and it looks like we go from a low in the pre-market to a low around 10 o'clock after a sharp decline. And it looks like that's probably the low there between 10 and 11 somewhere. It's probably the low for the day. We have multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance, and then that turns into an unexpected move to the upside. I see. So we decline. There's opportunity in the pre-market. Probably can't take advantage of it. We have this big move to the upside, brief peak that's easily missed, followed by a reversal back into lows. This is another full card opportunity before this big move to the upside here. We have a day's high somewhere between 11 and 1. I'm leaning closer to 12 around that time, maybe a little earlier, but somewhere in there. And from that high, we have a decline through multiple support levels. The decline continues between 1 and 2 into another low, probably right around 2 o'clock. Another day's low, probably pretty close to the previous lows. I'm advised to be cautious. There's some tricky chart behavior. Might look like we're going lower or something, but instead we have this big move to the upside, taking us to a high for the day. Right before the close, there's this big move to the upside, taking us to a high for the day. And then off of that high, we have a sharp decline, a universal hexagram decline into a low. Wow, I didn't notice that there. That's a cross-reading congruency, right? So this is probably a high for the month here at the end of the day. You can open up some pretty good trades. So first off, it looks like there was probably an opportunity here to open up a short position at some point, like maybe right here at these multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance on the 31st. Well, you would close that short position here after this sharp decline into a low just before 11 o'clock. It looks like, or somewhere between 10 and 11. It's probably a couple attempts there. That's also where when we poke through an important resistance or an important support level, when we poke through an important support level on a one-day chart scale just temporarily, that's a signal there between the 10 and 11 o'clock hour to open up a long position. You could hold that long position into the close for a day trade and close it there at that high for the day. It's probably a high for the month as well. There's a high and a low within close time proximity to each other here near the close, so be very careful of that. And there's more trading the following day. So if you want to do an overnight swing trade, that big move to the upside into a high for the day at the end of the day, that's where I would open up a short position for an overnight swing. Looks like we open, yeah, see, we're near highs here at the end of the month. What I would do is I would open up a partial, if I'm going to do the swing trade, I would open up a partial short in the midst of this move to the upside into a high at the end of the day, because it may be that we open like at a new high. We've got this correlation to the sneak preview card, to the correlation to the abundance card, right? So it looks like we open higher in the pre-market, but hard to say. So I'd open up a partial long there, excuse me, I would open up a partial short there, and I would add to that short. If we open higher or at the same high, I would add to that short there right at the open. If we open lower, I would close the short. And that's SPY for August 1st, 2024. Let me know what you think by hitting that like button. As always, make sure to follow that rule of karma. You know where to go, you know what to do. Blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one.